Emotional eating. What type of eater are you? Are you an emotional eater? When you're stressed, are you going to food to make you feel better? Emotional eating. What type of eater are you? We've got 3 types of eaters. Most people are either social eaters, they eat out of boredom, or they're emotional eaters. Are you an emotional eater? Generally, and this is generalizing here, most of the time we find that most men tend to be social eaters. They tend to eat a lot when they're out at parties and events and so on, where a lot of women tend to just sit back and not want to be seen to be eating too much. A lot of women, on the other hand, tend to be more closet eaters or emotional eaters. You know, they feel a bit down, a bit depressed. They just feel like they've had a crappy day. People have pissed them off. At the end of the day, put the kids to bed, sit down, put a movie on. You know what? I'm going to have a bit of ice cream or a bit of chocolate or a packet of chips or whatever it is that causes you to feel good. You know, in previous episode, we talked about, is food your drug of choice, or are you addicted to food? That goes in line with emotional eating. So both sexes, we found, eat out of boredom. So, you know what it's like. You're sitting at home, you're relaxing, you're watching a movie or something, and you get a bit peckish and you think, I feel like something. You know your body doesn't need anything. You know that. You just had lunch or dinner or whatever it is. So you're not hungry. You're not getting the hunger pangs to say, I need some food. But you just feel like something. I get a lot of people say to me, Tony, I always feel like something after dinner. What? Feel like something after dinner? You're not hungry after dinner. Are you tired? Is that what you think the craving is? Are you thirsty? Because sometimes that thirst mechanism and feeling tired releases that hunger pang that makes you feel like I need some food, but you don't need food. You actually need to have a drink of water, or you need to actually go to bed. But instead, people revert to food because food makes you feel good, especially certain foods that people are addicted to. So if you haven't watched that episode, go back and watch that episode because we talk about food addiction. But today we're talking about emotional eating. And so many people eat because they're emotional, they're frustrated, or they're angry, or, they sabotage themselves all the time. And so they go for the food to make them feel better. Why? You need to be in control of food. Food must not be in control of you. I always say, food is fuel. Food is fuel. Like we say, you don't go and put petrol in your car or gas in your car and then stand there and decide, what type of fuel do I feel like putting into the car? You put the fuel that the car requires and the car drives. There's no emotion there. The body, when it's digesting food, has no emotion to that food. It's a machine. It's processed. You put the food in your mouth chews it, you break it down, goes into the stomach, and away the digestive process occurs. The dilemma that we have is when the food hits your taste buds, and your taste buds get the flavors of that food, which releases chemicals into your brain, and the brain goes, oh, that tasted magnificent. And then you watch shows on TV that just highlight how yummy foods are, or there's certain commercials and things that release the same feeling that I must have those foods. And when you're at the most vulnerable is when you're going to go for those foods. When you're emotional, when you're down and you feel, you just broke up with your partner, or you've had some bad news, or you're feeling very sad for whatever reason, or for some women when it's that time of the month, and their hormones are going all over the place. For a lot of women when they're going through menopause, they get very emotional and they turn to food as that comfort. Where what you really need to do is go back to the other ways of releasing feel-good chemicals, tell someone you love them. Tell someone you love them. Tell your kids you love them. Tell your partner you love them. Because that is the fastest way to release serotonin. The fastest way to release those feel-good chemicals. You do not need to feel good by using food. So you don't need to be emotionally eating. Because you know what happens when you do that. You feel down and you go, I want to feel better. I want to go and have some chocolate. Or I'm going to have some ice cream or whatever it is. And you eat it. And you feel better for how long? Maybe 5 minutes? And then what happens? Then you feel worse than when you started, because then you need to then lose that weight because of the calories you put on, and you start feeling guilty that you ate the food that you ate and you shouldn't have eaten it. And then it's all a spiral, downward spiral, and then you feel worse and you go and eat again. And then in some cases, people sabotage themselves even further and go, oh, well, what's the point? I can't lose weight. I can't give up certain foods, so I'm just going to let myself go. And that's how people become obese. Now, sure, there's certain medical reasons why people become obese. But in most cases, people get diabetes. Type 1 diabetes has been shown to be a food-related illness, not a genetic illness. Type 1 is genetic. Type 2, which is where your pancreas stopped releasing insulin, that is a lifestyle change in your body that caused that because of an addiction to food. And that goes back to being emotional with food, where you then keep going for the same foods that make you feel good because you're highly emotional. Your body goes through mood swings all the time. And you know what it's like when you go through those mood swings. When you're addicted to something and then all of a sudden you pull it away and you get the withdrawal symptoms, all you want to do is go back and have that food again. And so then your body goes through those mood swings again. And again, you get emotional, and it's up and down and up and down and up and down. We've got to try to level things out. Exercise is the best way to level things out. It's the best way. You feel good about yourself in so many other ways. It's good for your body. It's good for your mind. And it's so important. Rather than going to food and being emotional and using food as your love. Don't use food as your love. And the same if you're a social eater. Don't binge eat, because that's the other thing that happens when you're an emotional eater. People then tend to binge on the weekend. We have a rule called the 6-in-1 rule, and people do such a good job during the week and they eat healthy. They're in their salads and their vegetables and all the right foods. And then they get to a party and they become a social eater and they buff for themselves. And they just blew everything that they just did throughout the week. So that's the other side of it. Or some people have no purpose in their life, or they feel like they're going nowhere. They're stuck in the same job. They're stuck in the same relationship. They're just stuck. So they're living their life, like Groundhog Day, and they're bored. So they eat out of boredom. So which type of eater are you? Are you a social eater? Are you a eater out of boredom, or an emotional eater? Now, the emotional eater is the worst, because that's the one that the addiction is there. Social eaters, as long as they're not socializing, they can always control the amount of food. They have a quantity problem. Their portion controls are not controlled. But a social eater can still eat the certain foods that they want to eat because they do the right things during the week. They just need to reduce their portions. That's an easy fix. Boredom is an easy fix. Go do something. Do something else other than sitting around doing nothing. Read a book. Participate in a certain activity. Find something you love to do. Straight away, you won't need to use food as your way of comforting yourself if you're bored. But the emotional eater, they're the ones that find it difficult to break that habit of food because that's their go-to. And the only way to break that go-to of food and emotional eating is, number one, get rid of that food so you don't get attached to that food. Get rid of it. Get rid of the sugary foods, the salty foods, and all those, the alcohol and those things that you find that you're addicted to and that you go to whenever you're emotional. When you're under stress, Stress is one of the worst emotions and it can cause all sorts of problems. And sure, we all get stressed, but use exercise as your stress relief, not food. We're all going to get stressed at different points of our lives. There's good stress and there's bad stress. Exercise is a good stress. Other types of stress, emotional stress is a bad stress. And if you're attaching emotional stress with emotionally eating, you've got a double negative. You're making it worse. You're compounding it because now you've got the stress or whatever you were worried about. And as you know, Dr. Susan Jeffers in the book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway says, 90% of what we worry about never eventuates. 90%. So worry causes stress. Stress causes anxiety. Anxiety causes depression. And the worst case of depression causes suicide. And you know that is so prevalent in our society at the moment, any country of the world. And it all comes back to emotions, controlling your emotions. You know, Tony Robbins talks about this a lot. There's two emotions, love and fear. The two main basic emotions, love and fear. If you're in love, you can't be in fear. And fear, there's strong emotions that are attached to fear, like anger and hate and jealousy and all those negative emotions. And then those emotions lead to, how do I make myself feel better? How do I numb myself from those emotions? Oh, I'll go to food. Food always makes me feel better. Got to break that habit. Got to break the habit of food. And I like to refer to certain people. Another fantastic book by Dr. Joe Dispenza is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And in that book, he talks about the neural pathways. It's like cabling that's connected, that you keep going back to the same habits and same addictions all the time because that's what your body's used to and your brain's used to. You know, it's why do some people, they know that they have the same 24 hours in a day and they've always got time to eat healthy, they've always got time to exercise, and then there's others that have the same 24 hours in the day and they haven't got time to exercise, they haven't got time to eat healthy, they haven't got time to do anything. And then it gets to the end of the day and they're totally spent and they're stuffed, and then they go to food to make them feel better. And it's always at the wrong time of the day. At the end of the day, what happens to all that food that you eat? Your body just stores it as fat. All that sugar gets converted to fat. Stored as fat. All the fat straight into the fat cell. That's the bad fat. You know, the salt, the body retains the salt and it retains sugar with it. It retains water with it. You know, they're negative things and it's all because people get emotional. Oh, and I have to have that chocolate. I have to have that ice cream. I have to have that bag of chips. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't need to have those foods. You've been telling yourself you need to have it, because you know that it makes you feel good. Find something else that makes you feel good. We say, look good, feel great. What makes you feel great other than food? Like I say, focus on the other emotion. Focus on the other forms of releasing feel-good chemicals. Tell someone you love them, your kids, your partner. That's easy. Your mum, your dad, your sister, your brother. That's easy. And it doesn't matter if they don't tell you back. Keep saying it. After a period of time, they will. They will. Focus on exercise, because exercise is the best stress relief. It's the best way to release those endorphins. And it's the best way. You can't be exercising and eating. You know what I mean? You can't digest food. There's a process. If you eat too soon within exercise, within say 2 hours, depending on what you eat, your digestive system just shuts down because it sends blood to the working muscles and your digestive system stops. That's why people feel sick when they've just eaten and they try to exercise. So if you need to, go for a walk. If you feel like you're craving something, you need something, or you're feeling emotional, go for a walk. Do something. If you say to me, oh, look, Tony, I can't because of the kids. All right, we'll just walk on the spot. Do something at home. Get moving. Movement increases blood flow. Blood flow increases oxygen to the brain. Oxygen to the brain starts to release those endorphins and you start to feel better. Therefore, the more often you do it, the more often you won't need to go back to food as your emotional comfort, because now you're using other things to make you feel better. We always say that this is the way that you need to go. Start that new path on becoming the best version of yourself. You know you can do this. And if you need the help, we're here to help you. If you love what you're hearing, please, and you know someone that needs to hear this message, please leave us a review, subscribe to our channel, and please share this with as many people as you can, because we want to help people exactly like you. If we've helped you, then please pay it forward. Pass this on to someone else so we can help that person as well. Because everybody deserves to be better than ever. We always say it. Better than ever. There's nothing better than ever. We need to get you in the best shape of your life. We want you to look good, but we really want you to feel great. So we need to break that addiction of emotional eating. We need to break it. You need to be in control of food, and you need to get those results that you really want to feel great. Results always start here, and everybody, including you, needs to be better than ever.